Yo, what's up? It's someone that's no one, and welcome back to today's story mix. Today, you guys see the title. We got a classic, one of the most commonly used substances next to caffeine and alcohol, that is tobacco. We cover tobacco under many different lights in this channel, starting off with some more general ones with how it can look like, how scentness can look like, how first time use can look like, but also some usage with different forms, such as snus and like doka. For the most part, tobacco use is dirty, is addictive, and these stories will paint how it can look like. So with that, I'm sure you'll enjoy this. Let me know what I should cover next. Make sure to like and sub, and without further ado, let's dive right into this.
Not what I expected. I was 15 first time I smoked. A few months before, my boyfriend, who we'll call W, left his half-empty pack of cigarettes at my house. He said he didn't want them. I hid them, so my parents wouldn't find them, and forgot about them completely. One day, I was really pissed off and depressed. I was tired of popping the usual pills and wanted to try something different. No one was home, and I remembered I had those cigs. I went outside, sat under a tree in my reclining lawn chair, and lit up. I took a few little puffs to try and get used to the smoke. Then, I inhaled really big, which was incredibly stupid. I started coughing so bad I thought I was going to choke. After hitting it a few times, however, I quickly got used to it. Immediately, I started feeling lightheaded and dizzy. I stopped right there and put it out. My parents would be home any minute, and I didn't want to be all messed up in front of them. I got up, but fell right back down into my chair. Eventually, I was able to stand and tried walking, but stumbled and couldn't manage to walk straight, almost like I was drunk. After many tries, I eventually went inside and went to bed. That night, I had the worst nightmares I could imagine. A few days later, my boyfriend was over, and I wanted to smoke again and at least finish one whole cig just to see what it was like. W asked if I was sure because he knew I had never really smoked before. I said yes, and we both lit one up. I was sitting on my windowsill, which is pretty high up, and he was standing beside me on the floor. After getting about halfway through it, I started feeling dizzy and lightheaded again. I told W to hold on to me, because I had this feeling I was going to fall forward out of my window onto the ground. I barely finished the cig and fell backward into his arms, and we both fell onto the floor. I felt really hot and started sweating. I tried to stand up, but couldn't. I also had some nausea, but it went away quickly. W picked me up and put me on my bed. I looked up at the ceiling, and it was spinning. It was making my head hurt, so I shut my eyes. An alarmed W said I was shaking. I opened my eyes and looked at my arms, which were indeed shaking. They continued like that for about 20 minutes, but even after it calmed down, I was still a little shaky and unstable for about another 30 minutes after. W was freaking out a little, saying he shouldn't have let me smoke. After he left, I went to bed and again had nightmares. I have no clue why all of that happened. I had never heard of anyone doing that. Maybe it's because I'm small for my age. I'm 15, 4'11", and 80 pounds, but I have been around secondhand smoke for most of my life. To this day, when I smoke, I still get those symptoms and nightmares, just not as intensely as in these two instances. Kind of underwhelming. Start, approximately 12:55 p.m. First hit from a foil pipe connected to a pen setup. It has a filter in it. Holding hits in for about 2 to 3 seconds. Extra breath. Used a torch lighter to light the small amount of tobacco packed into the foil part. I feel chill. I don't really get how people can get addicted to this. I don't really want to eat. Before I was kind of hungry. I feel good, I guess. The filter is a menthol. It tastes kind of like earthy, yet spicy mint. Very obvious I've been smoking if you smelled my breath. Gonna mouthwash it out. About 3 to 4 hits so far. All of the tobacco has been exhausted. Fourth hit caused visible smoke. Setup of the pipe. pen half with filter toward the end, straw pushing against filter and poking out, pipe-ish foil wrapping around pen and letting straw in it. 9 minutes in, approximately 1:04 p.m. Huh? Well, that was basically it. I might do it again, but I prefer weed. Probably not going to do any more drugs till I'm like 25 though, bearing alcohol. Fuck messing with your brain. Seriously, anyone out there, wait until you're at least 25 to start doing any drug but alcohol. Even with alcohol, don't do it often or heavily. Will fuck you up. 18 minutes in, approximately 1:13 p.m. Didn't realize, but I really had to fucking shit. See ya. Snooze. I have always been the kind of kid which always have hated alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, and all that kind of shit, but lately my opinion about these have radically changed. To this date, I've drunk a lot of booze, I've tried some psychoactives, LSA containing seeds, Hawaiian baby woodrose seeds to be correct, and had cigarettes on occasion. I was curious about this snus. I don't know what they are called in English, but that is what it's called in Swedish. Sweden is where I live. Best way to explain it, it's tobacco, salt, and water in a mixture to be put beneath your upper lip. Maybe I'm all over describing, but I don't recall ever hearing anyone who's from England or so use the word snus. Anyway, to get to the point, this day I had a very horrible day at work, hauling ass for my bosses all day long, so I decided I'd try something new. I was careless of what I do, and I thought I'd give snus a go. I've never used it before, but I knew it contained tobacco, and I liked the kick from cigarettes, so I thought I'd give it a go. On my way home, I put one portion under my lip, and that stuff really stings. Ow. It's like having pepper up your lip. Very unpleasant. The next 10 to 15 minutes, I was wondering if it would have any effect, and I felt robbed on that nicotine kick, one I get from cigarettes. Then I sat down on a bench outside my home and just wanted to chill and see if there would be any effects. Shortly, I began to feel lightheaded, dizzy, and nauseous. I'm not sure if it was some kind of placebo or anything, but when I looked down on the grass, it felt as if the ground was slightly breathing, just as I had read about some psychoactives. I thought it was cool, but I didn't like the nervous feeling in my body, so I threw it away. I thought it wasn't worth the while and put the package away. Later on, when I was about to go to bed, I thought I still wanted to give them another try, so I put 2 portions, double dose if you like, under my lip and awaited the effects. After 4 to 6 minutes, I began to feel nervous, dizzy, and feeling sick. Resilient I was, and I wanted to stick with it to see if I could get some kind of high. Shortly, a cola sign which I have hanging from the ceiling was slightly morphing and the colors were glowing. Kind of a plasma feeling, but nothing visually cool. I thought maybe I just made it up, but I could clearly see the sign skew and the image breathe. Soon, I got very sick. In about the same moment, I had this sexual lust growing up on me, so I thought I'd go to the bathroom to spit the snus out and masturbate some. It felt really good, but also very alien at the same time. I can't decide if it was an overall pleasant feeling, but my motor skills began to drift off, so I spit out the snus shortly after ejaculation. I threw up a couple of times, and I've made up my mind. I don't like tobacco, and I will not probably use it again. Maybe I would at some party, but definitely not on a regular basis. It was not for me. The sum up of the effects that I noted positive were mild relaxation, happy buzz feeling, morphing and breathing, shimmering colors, motor failure. It was kind of fun trying to walk straight. The sum up of the effects that I noted negative were moderate nausea, nervousness, foul and sour taste, foul smell, motor failure, was only fun a few moments. The effects came up on me about 10 to 20 minutes when taking one dose, lasting to about a minute after throwing it away. Using 2, I started feeling the effects strong and fast in about 5 minutes. I estimate I had still the feeling in me 5 minutes after I spat it out. I didn't keep it in me no much longer once I started feeling the effects. I'd rather smoke than use tobacco this way. If anyone would ever be curious about the brand I used, it's Gustavus Original. Can be found in Sweden. I wouldn't personally recommend this to anyone, but it was still fun to have experienced it. Sickness. I've been smoking marijuana for a couple of years now, cigars for about a year, but never cigarettes. About a month ago at a party, while quite drunk and high, I decided a cigarette would be a good idea. It was fun. It was a good immediate feeling, almost jittery and more focused than normal. Anyways, I like cigarettes, so I have smoked about a pack a week. Not an addiction by any means, for the past month. Tonight my friend and I could not get a hold of any herb, so we got a pack of cigs and a cigar. This was the first time I had chain smoked, and after the 5th cig, I started feeling sick. My friend had told me about nicotine poisoning / sickness before, since he has smoked for a couple of years, but I always thought I was big enough to handle it. After feeling sick for a minute, I immediately threw up and continued feeling sick for about another 10 minutes. My friend said that he had thrown up before, and it was normal. I learned chain smoking the first time cannot be good, so be careful the first time.
The world's strongest natural tobacco? It seems many users are interested in tobacco due to its use in shamanism in South America. Although traditional Mapacho tobacco is probably the tobacco of choice because of its MAOI qualities, it is hard to find unless you look online, where it's usually only sold in huge quantities. That's why I thought I should mention Doka. Doka tobacco is a pipe tobacco from the Middle East, and is traditionally, some brands add flavors nowadays, chemical / additive / preservative free, since it is simply dried in the desert sun. It is also very potent. A small hit will get you very buzzed and lightheaded, especially if you don't smoke tobacco regularly, and too large a hit will have you knocked out drooling. Unfortunately, speaking from experience here, it is traditionally smoked through a medwalk, which is basically a pipe with a tiny bowl, but you can put a small pinch of a bowl of weed as well. In North America, it can be found in most smoke shops that also sell hookah. It also has great purging potential, as I have seen people highly intoxicated on alcohol projectile vomit from this stuff. So check it out if inducing purging is of interest to you while on ayahuasca. I am not familiar with tobacco shamanism, but I imagine it could fulfill many of the same functions, since it is also very potent and natural. If you decide to smoke Doka, try it out before you are on psychedelics. And make sure you're sitting down and have something to rest against. Also, tobacco is tobacco, so still carcinogenic, etc. The quit smoking using Kratom story. I'm a 23-year-old law student on his final year. Since I live alone, I also make a living as a part-time federal office drone. This is important because there's something about government work that sucks the soul out of its drones that I've never encountered working in the private sector before. I think it's because the machine is simply too big and one feels like an insignificant little piece working to achieve ends beyond his ability to even understand. We are mostly stuck doing insignificant work. The hiring guide even tells you that while the work you might do might be considered childlike, crap, borderline useless normally, remember that you are in service of a higher calling, and yada yada. That entails no intellectual performance, no originality, no individuality. In that sort of culture, drug use is rampant as the only Steam valve available to open. This is made abundantly clear in, for example, the Japanese salaryman culture, where office workers are often spotted in trains or subways late in the night, early in the morning, drunk off their saddle, and slumped over in a stupor after working impossibly long overtime hours that can stretch well into the double digits per day. Long story short, a lot of public servants smoke, and a lot of them drink. Although this is purely from observation and experience, the rate of smoking addiction and alcoholism seems much higher than in an average sample of the population. I never understood why any of the above was appealing to anyone. until I got addicted to the first. I never liked the second. I was always more of a cannabis guy, a habit. I partook every day for 6 months. I had no difficulty whatsoever to kick it. Like most people, I never really wanted a nicotine addiction. It crept up on me, without warning. It is very insidious. It started off by bumming a cigarette every now and then from a colleague on my break. There's something about filling your lungs full of smoke that makes one feel alive. It certainly did for me. I love the warm feeling of the smoke dancing around in my lungs. I've even thought of smoking catnip just for the feeling. It just makes me feel so much less empty than usual. In addition, nicotine is quite the powerful anxiolytic, which really helps with the aforementioned anxiety from feeling so small, tiny, and useless at work. A long time ago, I bought a pack. I smoked 2 a day, but only at work. Then it was 3, then 5, then 8, at work and at home. I buy more packs. Then one time, I didn't have any smokes on a holiday where all the stores were closed. I felt like crap, irritable, sleepy, lethargic, uncomfortable in my own skin. And I felt those notorious mental cravings all day. And that's when I knew I was addicted. It didn't bother me since I had just been smoking for a few months at that time. I wasn't ready to quit yet. Smoking was just too convenient and legal, especially at work. I decided to quit when I lit one at work and felt incredibly nauseous. Same brand as always, same circumstances as always. Maybe it was a bad batch. Either way, that experience made a light bulb flare up above my head. I was paying a fortune to kill myself slowly. Never mind the stimulating anxiolytic, never mind the smoke in my lungs. I don't want to die anytime before I absolutely have to. So on I went to a glorious adventure, quitting cigarettes. Even though I easily put aside my weed habit, I knew this would be a different beast because of how I felt when I skipped a day of fixes. I tried cold turkey a few times, a complete and utter disaster. I never made it past day 3. I attribute this to the fact that I used to smoke quite strong cigarettes. Classic Dunhills, Hunter S. Thompson's brand. The government says that cigarette cravings last just 2 to 3 minutes. I'm telling you, this is complete and utter crap. I timed one once, and it lasted around 20 minutes. That's a long time to go with only one thing on your mind, especially because I felt them so strongly that my mind would project the smoking permitted sign, a lit cigarette with a green circle around it, in my vision non-stop for those 20 minutes. It wasn't a hallucination nor a visual, just what happens when you concentrate on a thought. You can see a faint outline of it in your head that translates to seeing it in your visual field. In this case, it was completely involuntary. I could not stop thinking about the cancer sticks, no matter what I tried. So I felt under the throttle weakness and always ended up buying a pack. Other symptoms were lethargy, hacking out disgusting globs of mucus that coated my throat's irritated areas, and a general feeling of discomfort, almost like fever. One notable case was when I was undergoing the classic irritability for nicotine withdrawal, and my girlfriend was so annoyed with me, she told me to just go buy a pack and smoke one before she went crazy. Sweet, pure acceptance and rationalization, an addict's worst nightmare. So, of course, I went ahead and bought more smokes. I tried patches. Quitting smoking is perhaps even more expensive than just smoking. The pricing of nicotine patches is completely exorbitant and is quite near outright abuse. Anyway, that didn't work out either. Even on the weakest patches, my arm would hurt and feel very heavy, and my skin would break out at the patched area. I was told I was allergic to the patches, but not the smokes. Finally, the answer came, ironically, at work. The same place that made me start would make me quit. A colleague had told me all about kratom, this new herb he was using for his migraines. I had tried it in the past for seasonal depression and it felt great. On the uptake, kratom makes me stimulated, euphoric, concentrated, and possess a misleading clarity of mind because I find that my short-term memory is affected similarly to when I smoke pot. When I'm at the peak, I feel a very pleasant body buzz, kind of like being wrapped around a warm, soft blanket all day long. On the come down, I feel relaxed, but scatterbrained, and my concentration takes a hit. And I can easily enter waking dreams, where I'm not sleeping, but dreaming, while being unaware of either state of consciousness. So, in accordance to its traditional use, kratom is very good for manual labor and office droning, but poor for studying, as I find it can make one prone to forgetting material, due to the impairment of short-term memory, even though one feels very awake and mentally present. It can bring one to be quite overconfident in one's retention, in fact. I'd also read it kills nicotine cravings, so I decided to try it more fully. I told my coworker to give me 2 weeks worth and offered to pay him $10 for his trouble. He usually takes it capsulated, but didn't have time to make some for me, so he told me to eyeball it using a slim pill bottle. The same you get for Ativan, I guess. He usually took a full pill bottle, but I took half to 3/4 because I had no tolerance. I took it straight from the bottle with water. This stuff tastes like ass though, but I found out how to take it without tasting it too much. Closing your glottis, flattening your tongue, keeping the tip under your bottom teeth. Pour water in your mouth, making it a recipient. Then dump some powdered kratom, making sure not to get any on your tongue. As for me, this is what triggers the vomiting reflex. I ended up being able to take my dose in 2 shots at the end. It's somewhat of an art. First day without smokes went like bliss. I did not feel any cravings for nicotine. And the euphoria, pleasant body buzz, and pain-killing attributes of kratom ensured I felt no physical discomfort aside from the globs of mucus in my throat. I felt euphoric and productive. I took it every 2 days, so as not to replace an addiction with another, and also to acquaint my body with the feeling of having nothing psychoactive. 2 weeks later, I stopped the kratom, and I haven't felt a single craving since. In fact, I smoked one just for fun after a week's waiting period. It made me sick more than anything else, and my body rejected the idea of having any more. I'm now a month free of smoking, and my body is thanking me for it. I have no more phlegm, my pulmonary capacity is coming back slowly, and my cardio seems even better than before I started. One thing though, some users report that kratom makes them want to smoke more. I tried having kratom and smoked a cigarette under its influence, back when I still smoked and was not quitting, and I found that smoking with kratom makes one crave nicotine more than normal for a few days or weeks when one takes subsequent kratom doses. It also brings uncomfortable nausea and is not at all pleasant. Well, that concludes my report. I quit an average smoking habit for $10 and no effort, and I can say it was even pleasant. I hope this wonderful herb helps other nickel captive people.